your podcast, The Truth Tastes Funny. And it's to be able to laugh at ourselves. Yeah, that's how you get through life, through business. Then, not only that, now you're talking about the Yes brand, and
Right.
that's exciting to me because being in business, being a CEO of a few companies, and the challenges of content and the brand, and that's really been my struggle. And I'll tell you, I did 10 years of marketing classes and came out with nothing. It's just not in there, right?
Well,
So
like, yeah.
it
Well,
went right out.
that was your first mistake, right? Taking all those marketing classes. What do they know? I did take marketing classes. By the way, it's great to be here, Kris, with you. It's
Thank you.
wonderful to be here. Thank you for having me on, and I loved having you on. And but I think we're both people who have figured out a lot of things on our own through experience. You know, I mean, we make mistakes and then we learn from it. And I've always tried, I tried playing it safe with creative ideas at one point, but the reward is never there. You
Right.
play it safe and you end up missing the mark. That's what I think.
Right. It's almost like being on the edge all the time. If I put myself out there like in faith, I'm just jumping off a cliff. I make better connections than, like you say, being safe and don't
Yeah.
say this and don't say that. But the art is how do I encapsulate? Like it took me 10 years to figure out, my elevator pitch of
Right.
my 30 years in practice. How do you wrap that? How do you get that?
Yeah. I think that, first of all, as much as I make fun of going to 10 years of marketing classes, what I do think is valuable is repetition. Like, you know, the first thing I'll do with clients who come to me and they want help with messaging, and I say to them, I say like I'm more than a copywriter or a business writer or a creative, because I'm not just taking a brief from them. I'm really sitting down with them and talking through their identity and who they are. And I think as they talk to me, their identity will start to come into focus. And sometimes they'll go, wait a minute, I didn't even know. I didn't even I just thought of that. You know, like you'll just think of things as you're talking to people that can be really pivotal. But the more conversations you have, the better you get at it. So I don't think anybody's great at their elevator pitch right out of the gate.
Right. And it's so amazing how one word can pivot the whole thing, change
Yes.
the whole frequency. And I mean, you've done some major, huge brands, and you're the man, and you've got that kind of experience, right? And so the focus, when you're having the conversation and you meet someone and you only have so much time to tell them about what you're about, that first line that you say, a lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah. I think the first thing that you should say is the most relatable thing. Like, in other words, let's say that you're an astronaut, and the first thing you tell people is, I when I'm in I kind of go into zero gravity, and then I get a little nauseous, and then the thing goes, and then the for slicker twix goes off, and then I have to turn on my fire bluster. And it's like, people don't get any of that. If you say, hey, you look up there, you see all those stars, I go up there.
Yeah,
I go
that's
up
it.
there.
Right. Yeah.
Then they say, how do you do that? So
Right.
for me, I would say, oh, I've worked with brands like Bear Paw boots, and like whoever I've worked with. Reese, I worked with you know Nike, or I work with Adidas, or I work with this brand or that brand. And I worked with Templeton Rye, or you pick a category, something that wherever you are, they will know. So if you're meeting somebody in a shoe store, you're going to talk about the shoe brands you worked with, or you're meeting something that's relatable.
Right. And that's the art of being able to find what's relatable. Because, my mind would think, oh, well, that's what it is, but it never was. It never really would connect.
Right.
And your focus right now, you have season one, right?
Right.
And it's called Selling the Truth. Is that correct?
The theme for the first season of Yes Brand is selling the truth. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's yeah, and that starts with that because I think that a lot of people think that the story they're telling isn't necessarily the truth. It's not a lie, but it's what somebody wants to hear or what
Mhm.
people want to hear the truth. They only care about the truth. And and like Twain said, it's easier to remember, right?
Yeah.
And, and it's really the best place to start. And I want people to get really comfortable with who they are and what they stand for, whatever it is, like their identity. They have to really, that's why I call it like message therapy, because I'm helping them work through issues they may have that don't always have to do with it's not the right word. It's not the right,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
it's
Exactly.
not the right idea sometimes. Sometimes the idea of who they think they are isn't really true. So to that extent, it is like therapy. It's like, let's just talk about it.
It
Tell me
really,
about it. What do you think
yeah.
about this? What do you think about that? You know?
Yeah, so you get behind the veil because everybody's got this veil of who they think they are, but
Right.
that's not connecting with other people like it should. That's the art of the good copy genius, right?
Well, and the thing is that by using comedy, we're disarming
Ah,
one another, really. It's like
right.
both people relax. So
Yeah.
comedy's great in advertising if it comes from the right place, if the intention's there, if it all makes sense. But it also is just a great icebreaker. It just makes people relax and they just take it easy and they laugh at themselves and I laugh at myself. And then we get on some kind of roll usually.
That's what I like. And I find, personally or in the business to be able to laugh at myself
Yeah.
instead of get angry, that changes the whole thing. But when you weave that into the lightheartedness of the seriousness, right,
Right.
then you can really connect. And, owning and having a business, and it really is all about relationships. So, we have such a short time to connect with people. That has to really be
Yeah.
there, right?
Yeah, that's similar between you and I because you have Money 911, you have this it's like a crisis center
Right.
for retirement, right? Something
Yeah.
like that. See, that's not a
Right.
bad that's not a bad like tagline or whatever.
No,
But
it's a
but
great.
you've done really well with your branding, I think.
Thank you.
But what you have is this trust factor that is the number one. It's the number
That's
one
it.
reason why someone would buy
That's it.
cereal or why they would buy a car or why they
That's
would
it.
invest in
Right.
a commodity or in that's
Yeah.
why we've talked about how what I'm not a stock market person. I never have been. And it's like any money I've put in the stock market, I did because I was working with a company that went public and we were doing all this great stuff and and so I naturally took advantage of and bought some stock. But then when things didn't happen and management and all kinds of they came out of the gate too fast. That's what it really was. they hadn't they did a great job of raising money and raising
Right.
interest, but they didn't do as good a job of refining their product. So,
Right. Right.
when everything came out and then they had to go back to the drawing board on some things, they just dropped real fast. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'm not this gambling thing isn't for me.
No. And no, and nobody knows about the safe places to have
Well,
the money because
right.
we're not taught. You go to school, learn how to make money, get out of school. What do? Go make money and give it to somebody else to gamble.
Right.
And then
Right.
it's a roulette wheel. Will it be up or down when you retire? And the poor folks right now, right?
Yeah.
So to empower people, that's really what you and I are doing is empowering people around that. And it is like a therapy. That is the
Yeah.
greatest message therapy that's hot because
Thank you.
it is, and trademark that because it's really what it is. And I find the same thing when I'm, coaching healthy money clients. There's so much mindset and things that, people put in front of themselves that block them from making that next step, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm putting together it's in the early stages. I have to trademark all this stuff. I got to trademark Yes Brand. I have a temporary trademark on it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have to trade. I don't know what's involved actually. See,
It's
that's that.
simple. I'll tell you.
Okay.
I'll tell you offline, but it's not
Tell
that.
me offline because I have to trademark Yes Brand. I have to trademark message therapy. And
Right.
then I'm putting together a retreat um, with different kinds of what I would call complete total. I haven't named it yet, but let's just say it's a total sanity summit or something like that. A sanity summit. I'm going to write that down.
Right. There you
See,
go.
I did use it here first. I should tweet it out also.
Okay.
But
All right. I'm
okay.
in it.
So the sanity summit is that you want to kind of put each part of your life in order. So
Right.
we would need a financial advisor, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
can play that role. I have
Yep.
someone who's a spirituality coach. I have
Mm-hmm.
another person who's an operations authority, and
Right.
all these people. So you get CEOs that have and they come in for the weekend and they do all the different things. And I don't know that no one's ever done anything like that before, but I always look at it this way. My ideas aren't about here's an original idea no one ever thought of and go do it. It's that they can't do it unless it's the right people.
Right.
If they go try to replicate it, then CEOs end up spending the weekend with four schmucks. It doesn't really help. It
Doesn't
doesn't.
help.
It's
Right.
not as much fun, right?
Exactly.
So it's about the energy. It's about the fun, the sense of humor.
Yes.
Putting people at ease, and then so it's all a vibe. And
Right.
even I have friends who do all these other things as well, but they just might not be the right people for the
Mm-hmm.
sanity summit.
Right.
They don't put
Right.
out the right vibe. So
Right. It's like playing a song, right?
yeah,
And I mean, you could have, tons of financial planners, but that you have, or this or that, but it has to be the right instrument for that to go because
right,
when you have a live event, which is where I've been, a lot of masterminds, and that's where it's really gone to the next level when they're the right kind of a mastermind, not
yeah,
just sell, 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 but give and help each other. You bond and and then you're away from your normal setup where you can really download lots of new ideas.
yeah.
I mean, you can do it virtually too. It doesn't that, but the point is getting the right
It,
mix
it's
together.
hard. I'm so glad that people are back
I
and
know.
spending time together. I was just
Yes.
at one mastermind, and I can't imagine accomplishing the same thing
No,
virtually.
it's
You
not.
know,
It's not the same.
I mean, everybody did the best they could
Yeah,
when
we
we were
did.
underground, but
Right, exactly. And that's how I've made my best connections was speaking live. It
yeah,
isn't like it used to. There isn't as many as there used to be, but it doesn't matter. It is the point of it is making the right song, and it takes a team to get all of that together, right?
right.
Because I mean, it's just too much if you want a next level. Now, a lot of people are already at a next level, but they're stuck. They get to a ceiling, and maybe they've got a new product or a new thing they want to do, but they're so stuck. How do you get them out of that? How do you get them out of that into the
Okay,
new
what?
room?
So I have a term for that too. That's another one that I have to uh,
Okay.
trademark called plateau fever, which is where I think people reach a certain level.
Right.
They're on this plateau and they
Plateau
can't break the
fever.
fever, right?
You
Because they're
gotta.
going nuts. They're going
Right.
nuts and
Yeah.
they can't. And that circles back to this very, very simple concept, which is that they have to not think about the competition for 5 minutes. Don't think about that next company up or the market leader. Go back to why you started your business. Why did you start your business? What do you love most about your business? What is it about you that is infused into your brand? Let's say you make shoelaces or you make bottle tops. I don't care, but what is it about the way your business works that is, and sometimes I will go and talk to the the managers, the people who work at the company, and sit down and have, I'll go in for, I can go and work only with a CEO or a founder or a business owner, or I can work with the whole C-suite, or I can work with all these managers in a bigger company, or even let's say there's 30 people in the company. I can come for a few days and spend time with them and talk to them and get the personality of the company, because the personality of the company is not the same in any two companies, but the products may be, okay. I did learn, I did go to school at School of Visual Arts to study advertising, and it was cool because I understood about the USP, the unique selling proposition. I understood about how commercials are made, and then I worked in the advertising business for many years. But by doing those things, you kind of learn what you need to do to break the rules. You know the rules.
Right.
You've learned the rules, and
Right.
now you know what rules work for you and which ones you should break. And one of the ones you should break if you're stuck is to constantly compare your product to their product. That's
Right.
one department. That's one department. But your personality is another department.
That's a big department there, right? You
Yeah.
probably you probably have an illness for a name for each message therapy. I mean, you could go, you
No,
could go into
no.
the Dr. Hirsch.
Well, you got to be careful not to be too cute with that stuff. You
Okay.
could, you could be too cute, and
Mhm.
and 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 sometimes that's like being cute for the sake, just being clever because you can. It's
Yeah.
like it's not really, it doesn't really work. Then they don't believe it or they don't buy it. So we have to make sure that there's uh there's reality in everything we're selling, so that we're not just, because you could use a medical thing like the
Yeah.
therapy thing. I could do analogies all day for therapy, but it gets to be a little,
Yeah.
much, right?
It's cute when it's not. I
And
mean, it's better than cute because it's
yeah,
unique. Right.
I don't want to
Yeah.
have a picture of a stethoscope. Let me check the heartbeat of your business. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, right?
Right. Right.
But it might be good for someone else.
Yeah.
Someone else might have that total personality, and I'd be like, dude, you're like a doc. You really are like a doctor. You look like a doctor. You sound like a doctor. Maybe we could do something funny with that, but I
Right.
wouldn't overdo it. you
Right.
know
I think having the humor woven into the sales thing is beyond the norm, right?
yeah.
And you got to dig really deep to sell the truth, don't you think so?
Thank you for saying that, because I was writing some copy today, and I wanted to talk about digging deep, but I didn't want to sound uh trite or phony.
Yeah.
But I do think that when people are talking about their brands, they do have to go deep. They have to go as deep
Right.
as they can, you
Yeah.
know.
Right.
And it's the road less traveled sometimes.
Yeah.
That's what comedy is anyway. Comedy's just the road that we've been on with a little bit of perspective and a little kind of what the hell is going on.
Right. Right.
What is, no, it can't be, right? Like that kind of thing. Crazy stuff that happens to us, and you're like, oh my God, I cannot believe, of course that's happening,
Right.
you know?
The art of what you do is to be able to bring that out of people, to take them past the fears and afraid that they're be able to laugh at themselves or share. And when they get through that, I mean, that's what you're good at, is be able to take them through that, right?
Yeah, I try to take them through it.
Yeah,
Um,
depending on how open they are.
well, yeah, but you've heard that yourself. If you have a client who's not coachable in the sense that
Mm,
they have very set ideas,
yeah,
and they're like, look, I just want you to do this and that. I want this result,
right,
but I want it like done like this. What do you
right.
do? What do you do with, have you ever come across clients that are a little bit closed minded, or,
Oh, yeah.
or,
Yeah, my broker don't, everybody's stuck in what they know.
yeah,
And instead of, like, we started this conversation, like, leap out a little bit, get on the edge, right? Be a little almost scary to jump into something new, because
right.
that's the brand break, right? That busts it out into something that hasn't been really said that way.
Right. What you could do that would be funny if you were doing a mock commercial for you is like you would say now the first thing I want you to do if you're a CEO and you're an investor and you're sitting at home and you're watching this, first get your crystals out. Let's get your crystals out. You should have, did you receive the package that I sent? You should have this one. Now there should be a little green crystal and there should be a blue crystal and then there should be a red kind of obelisk. Do you have all those pieces? Okay, good. Throw them away because that shit doesn't work. Now here's some good advice. Now here's some real
There you
advice.
go. There you go. That's it right there. That's what makes you the yes brand. Right.
The yes brand
That's
guy.
a good one. That's a good one. That is really good.
All right, well, it's yours.
Well,
It's
okay.
my gift to you. Some people give my book isn't finished yet. I'm writing a book, but it's not
Okay.
finished yet. But so that's my gift to you is your
Well, thank
is
you.
the yeah.
I received that for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah. Just a, little thing in marketing, I'm in this software for this marketing that goes into LinkedIn. And, it's really salesy. And there's a group, there's once, and I watch the reactions. Now, I'm not a copywriter. I got to talk to you about this later offline or something. But the way the copy is, it's so salesy that it's just a turn off. Or some people really like that kind of. So there seems
Right.
to be sort of a couple kind flavors of marketing for different, but it's the same group of people. Does that make sense?
The audience is the same.
Yeah,
The
audience is
audience
the
is the
same,
same.
but the messaging re- resonates only with a certain segment of that audience. Maybe because it's too
If
salesy,
it's too
or
okay. So the audience is some of them like to be sold,
yeah,
like with a hard sell and some don't.
yeah,
Yeah,
right,
that's okay. Well, the answer is which one are you comfortable pitching with,
hmm,
or using?
yeah,
Because I went through that myself where I was like I was, somebody said, "Oh, you should be more aggressive or you should use this tactic or that tactic." And I tried because I as a person who's always serving the client, I'm always open to ideas. So this was someone talking to me about my style and saying, "Why don't you try being more aggressive and doing a more of a hard sell?" And that way people don't hang up without the
right,
sale or whatever it
right,
is. And
yeah,
I'm like, if I do that, I'm just gonna sacrifice everything I built over 20 years. It's gonna be like all the trust that
yeah,
people have in me. They're gonna be like, what's that about?
right,
Now what it means is I have to come up with other things that will help establish the awareness. But
right,
that's why I love the podcasting world because you can
yeah.
really be yourself. You can go out there and give your message out and people will receive it. People will share it much better than I think
Y- y-
social media, quote
Oh
unquote,
yeah,
is.
much
You know,
better. Oh yeah.
I know social media works. It works
Uh-huh.
in getting people to look at it, but
Right.
it's there's no real proof that I've found as a marketer that, selling on social media or selling your message even strictly on social media is going to really change the
No,
world. It will affect
it'll affect.
your image.
Right.
It'll affect your image left to right, but like, of where you want to be. But
Right.
it won't, it, it isn't, people are going to find you sometimes,
Hmm.
but the sum total of who you are has to be delivered, I think, some
Yeah.
more powerful way, more meaningful way, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah. Sum total of who you are. Well, why don't you go ahead and share with everybody what you're excited about, how they can get in contact with you, how they can listen to your podcast.
Yes. Well, obviously, I'm very excited about the Yes Brand podcast. It has not launched yet. I don't know when this episode will launch, but maybe we'll time it out so that it launches if that works.
Sure.
But
Sure.
it'll launch December 1st,
Okay.
and I think at that time it'll be on Apple Podcasts and Google and Spotify and Stitcher and all that good stuff. Um, and it'll be a really nice companion to the Truth Tastes Funny podcast, which is now in its second season. And It's in its first season. It got into the top 5% of podcasts globally on listen notes, and I'm just really, really thrilled with the response and the feedback I get from guests and the ratings I get from listeners. And, I'm really, really happy with it because it didn't start out as anything more than a labor of love. And I just wanted people to have insights into how to survive and thrive in a chaotic world. Because as we've talked about, the world is crazy. So crazy. I'm going to keep talking to great people. I had a really close friend of mine who's a very discriminating podcast listener yesterday tell me that I have amazing guests. And he goes, I don't know where you find your guests, but these guests are amazing. And right. I've listened to every episode, which means he heard your episode. Right. So you're an amazing guest. So I feel like I just want to keep that going and keep putting out those common sense ways of dealing with craziness. And then on the Yes Brand side, help CEOs and owners and founders also find their brand voice and see what their brand voice has to say and help them bring it out into the world. Positivity, positronics. That's what I'm excited about. There's plenty of discord and crazy stuff and madness in the world and fear. And I can't solve anything by ranting about it. Right. So all I want to do is put good vibes out there.
There you go. Amen to that, for sure. Well, you can't top that. I was going to say, well, what parting note would you say? But that's it right there.
And that's my parting note. My parting note.
All right. There's so much to learn about healthy money. I hope today's discussion brings you one step closer to securing and protecting your future. So you can get started on the right foot, go to meetwithkrismiller.com and schedule your free financial fitness strategy session. Thank you for listening, and please subscribe to Money 911 so you don't miss our next episode, which includes health, wealth, and peace of mind.